Hi, it has been a long time since the last video, but the latest release of the terrain module has some handy features to play with. At the end of the video, you should be ready to create terrain paths, roads and rivers inside Godot Engine 3.5. Some of the most relevant changes coming to this release are the new path editor, the new terrain path node, and a complete rewrite of the terrain editor plugin. One of the features I always wanted to implement was the ability to draw paths on the terrain. It was not an easy task, but after many failed attempts, I got it working. In the end, it took me almost an entire month to create something good enough to be put in the stable version of the module. So, this is how we ended up with a path editor that can be used in two ways. One to edit the terrain height and one to generate a terrain path node from the path painted by the brush. Painted path will always exclude biomes when baking the exclusion map, but this effect can be overridden when using any of the height modifiers with the preserve path property disabled in the brush editor. This will work by erasing the path stored in the green channel of the terrain-based height texture. There are two predefined modes when painting path from the editor. You can either create a road-like path or a river-like one. Paths created to be used as roads will have the height offset applied to the curve position when the export path property is enabled. Paths created to be used as rivers will keep the original height position when exported, but will deepen the underlying terrain. The second feature I wanted to implement was some sort of node that will allow me to modify the terrain height map, but from outside the terrain editor. So that, for example, if I wanted to create a path node first, I could modify the terrain later using the internal curve. I also wanted to have one node to easily draw the geometry I wanted, and that passed through all the control points of a curve. So I ended up combining all those requirements into one single node, the terrain path node, which ended up being a very useful class. Along the way, it was necessary to create a custom curve editor too. So, using the Path Editor plugin as a starting point, I extended it with a lot more features like width and tilt handles. So you will see a pretty nice curve editor when using a terrain path node. Also, the terrain path menu has some cool features, so make sure to explore them all. Rivers are created combining two nodes, the terrain path node to modify the height map and the river node from the Waterway plugin to create the mesh. Right now, the official Waterway add-on won't work as it might cause crashes when combined with the terrain module, so instead use the modified version available from the link in the description below. Rivers can be created as usual. Just place the control points and adjust the width until you get the desired result. Before baking the flow map, you need to make sure to regenerate the collision data from the terrain, or else you will get wrong results. To create a road, use a terrain path node as the base and simply change the geometry type to a box type. Place some control points and add a material as you could simply do with any geometry instance. Go to the terrain path menu to either create a collision body from the path or to export it as a mesh. Most of the editor changes are internal and do not have a visual impact, except the new brush gizmo. This time the brush gizmo will display the selected brush mask and the edge will display the limits of its effect. Also, there is a dedicated brush for the path editor, where the internal circle represents the width of the path and the outer, bigger ring, the blend distance along which the terrain height map will blend with the path target height. There were other changes, so make sure to check the complete changelog in the documentation available in the demos repository. Until the next video, enjoy!